Hello, everyone. It's Shane Conto, your Wasteland Reviewer, and welcome to the Wasteland Retrospective here on the SPM Crew Podcasting Network. And this is my weekly show where my guest picks a film, and I pick a film related in some shape or form to it. And hopefully by the end of this episode, you will have two films to go check out. And it's the first Thursday of the month, which means I'm joined by my wife, Jess, for her birthday month.
Hooray.
Happy early birthday.
You're welcome.
At,
Oh, wait, thanks.
as we're recording here, and we are talking about Jess's favorite film, True Grit, from the Coen Brothers from 2010. And I decided to pair it with one of my favorite Coen Brothers films that happens to be a neo-Western, and that is No Country for Old Men from 2007. So, let's jump in, Jess. What are your general thoughts on True Grit, and why is it your favorite film?
Cutting right deep there. I, as a friend of mine once pointed out, when I was younger, I've calmed down in my old age. Had a lot in common with Maddie, also being a plucky, precocious child, often out of her element. I had more anxiety than her, though. I'm not gonna lie. She was pretty confident. Could never be me, but it's
Sometimes
okay.
overly confident.
Yeah, that could never be me, but it's all right. It's beautiful. It paints a lovely picture of the West. I actually had a friend too, who was from Fort Smith, Arkansas, so it was interesting to talk to her about what it looks. Apparently, it doesn't look that much different. It's just modern. But the landscape is beautiful. The setting's beautiful. I love a good Jeff Bridges. That's it. Just a good Jeff Bridges.
Fill your hands, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, there's so many great one-liners from this.
It's like, usually moving backwards when I'm backing up.
I love his old sassiness, especially in the court.
Yep. So this film is adapted from Charles Portis's novel, but most people probably know True Grit as the John Wayne film that actually won him an Oscar for Best Actor,
I disagree,
which is wild.
Gary.
Which is wild. That was definitely
It was
one
a
of
legacy.
those legacy wins, because like it's just him acting goofy, and he beat both leads of Midnight Cowboy, which is wild
Boo.
to me.
Boo this
But
man.
I would have 100% agreed if the Academy had given Jeff Bridges an Oscar for this. He did just win one the year before for Crazy Heart, and he lost to Colin Firth for The King's Speech, which The King's Speech ate up them Oscars that year.
Yep.
It was a Weinstein film, so that's probably why.
Oh.
Because like this year had this, it had Toy Story 3, it had The Social Network. Like this was a legitimately great year for some films, and I really do enjoy The King's Speech a lot, but it's no True Grit. And the Coens just really understand Portis's material and this dry and intense kind of experience that this film is, because this doesn't pull punches.
No.
It's very realistic.
It's brutal.
There's brutal moments in this film, and not everybody's going to get out of this live or unscathed, to be honest. And it's one of those kinds of films that like there's stakes here and you feel them at every turn. And just from like a technical standpoint, like you said, this is a gorgeous film. You know why? Deakins. This film is shot by the greatest cinematographer of all time, Roger Deakins. There's so many amazing shots, and I will always go back to when LaBeef is switching Maddie, and Rooster takes out his pistol, and it's just that nice wide shot of him there. It's just so it is so perfectly framed and blocked and everything. You just have great lighting too, because there's a lot of night moments in this and the use of shadow. And there's some interesting choices in terms of there's two sequences that are shot from like really far away. Like the whole where they're trying to like bushwhack Cheney along with that Pepper's gang outside
Mhm.
of that house, and it's like this wide, far shot, and we never get like really up close. And even where LaBeef is lining up his shot
Yeah, to snipe.
to snipe Peppers, and just there's some really interesting choices from that because like I feel like most movies would have had like these close-up shots of those moments, but not Deakins,
It
not the
works.
Coens.
I mean, that's part of the appeal of a Western, right? Is the landscape, and how
Yes.
are you gonna show it off?
And like this isn't like super like this doesn't look like that Technicolor, the Searchers, like look at like Monument Valley. This is a there's a richness to the colors.
Mhm.
There's a depth to them, but like this is dark, it's gray, it's brown.
I mean, as early winter would be.
Yes. And it really captures that. Carter Burwell, who won't talk too much about with No Country for Old Men because he's basically relegated to the credits. But like this score is so good.
Oh yeah,
This is such a rich, impactful Western score with the
based on
strings and
American
everything.
traditional.
Mhm. It just, you feel all the emotion and weight. And even like, I think I was rushing after we finished this movie, so I took the Blu-ray out real quick. But like even the song that plays over the credits,
Oh, leaning on the everlasting arms.
it
Yeah,
just really captures the feeling and the atmosphere of the film. So there's just a lot of elements to this from a technical standpoint, and it's paced really well. This is an hour and 50-minute film, never feels it.
no,
There's
it moves.
great character introductions and moments. Like it would be real easy to like when you introduce Rooster to just have like this close up of Jeff Bridges, but it's Maddie sifting through the crowd of this courtroom
Hmm.
and just this panning shot of him, and you finally get up and close personal. That push and zoom in close up of Cheney
Hmm.
when you first see him at that river, I'm like, oh damn, it's him. It's just perfect. And it just so many great moments in terms of understanding how to maximize character in any given moment. And I think one of the things that works so well about the Coens is they know how to make minor characters better than anybody.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Who are some of your favorites?
The bear. What is his name? He does introduce himself. I can't remember his name.
Oh,
Forrester.
yep, I
Love
have
that guy.
just the I do have my bear
Yeah,
skin.
he's making small talk or whatever. Also love that he's a dentist slash doctor.
Mhm.
Surgeon, maybe. That's classic. He's probably my favorite minor character.
It's so memorable
It's
because
really
like
funny too, the guy that she's negotiating with, I can't remember his name.
just, oh, first off with Forrester, like that whole entire like, you're not LaBeef.
You are not
LaBeef.
LaBeef.
Like you even have J.K. Simmons as like a voiceover
Yeah, the
character
attorney.
as the attorney. And Dakin Matthews, Colonel Stonehill is the one she's
Uh,
negotiating with. He's
yeah.
like, are we negotiating again?
I love the fear in his eyes.
Yes, because like he's such a great character actor, popping up in a lot of different kinds of things, and it just works so well. And obviously, you have Jeff Bridges, like you have a movie star as Rooster Cogburn, but he like, I know it became a parody after this with like R.I.P.D. and stuff like that, but like this was like the first time Jeff Bridges really went into the, it sound like Jeff Bridges.
Grumpy old guy.
Yeah, and he's just so perfect. The costuming and everything, his facial hair, eye patch, it all really comes together.
That's how he was in the book. This is way more faithful to the book.
Hmm. Haley Steinfeld is amazing.
She holds her own.
It makes me mad. This is obviously category fraud, but she got if I'm not mistaken, she got ran as best supporting actress.
Uh,
Because probably because she's a kid actor, which is
rude.
bullshit. Because she is, actually, you know what, let me double check that real quick before I, because this got nominated for 10 Oscars and didn't win shit, which is bullshit,
Boo.
to be honest. Yeah, they had Haley Steinfeld in supporting role. She's the
Boo.
main character of this
They
movie.
need to develop like a percentage of screen time calculation or
Well,
something.
and it's not even that. It's like if you
She's the
have
main
if
character.
you have the main arc of the movie, you're a main character. Like,
She's the whole reason the movie happens.
because like this got nominated for Best Picture, got nominated for Best Actor, Best Supporting Actress, got nominated for Directing, got nominated for Adapted Screenplay, got nominated for Cinematography, which at that point Deakins had been nominated like 11 times and had not won.
Always a bridesmaid.
Then he won 2 years in a row. Costuming, sound mixing, sound editing, art direction. Makes me sad Carter Burwell didn't get nominated too. But to be frank, nobody was going to win that award next to Atticus Ross and Trent Reznor for Social
That's
Network.
right. That's right.
Like that 100% deserved to win. So even though I love this score, like Haley Steinfeld's so great because she has so much presence. She was like 15.
Yeah, she really does. She's
and
tough.
and she's a pop star and a movie star at this point. And like
We contain multitudes.
she's extremely talented. I was not super happy when I heard like Matt Damon's,
Matt
but like
Damon.
I think he captures LaBeef really
Oh yeah,
well.
flamboyant and braggart.
He like I thought you were gonna say the sun was in your eyes. I mean your eye. And
I also love the exchange where he's like, "I once drank water out of a hoof print and was grateful for it," and Rooster being like, "I might have believed it the first 15 times I heard it."
from a Texas Ranger. It's just the dialogue in this.
Oh, it's A plus. It's sassy, peak sassy grandpa. Honestly, I love it every minute of it. I also looked into in this viewing, I looked into the horse actors a bit more. It was really interesting the way the Coens, I guess I didn't realize how much effort they put. I wasn't surprised, but into casting the horse actors. Like they picked they picked Little Blackie's horse, starts with say Cimarron.
Mhm.
They picked him because he had a kind face. They picked LaBeef's Appaloosa because he was flat or she I can't remember was flashy and 20 years old. Good for you. And I don't remember why they picked roosters. I just remember his name was Apollo. I mean, he was big, muscular horse. I think quarter horse. They usually have big butts.
Well, and there was some nice foreshadowing too when LaBeef's like, my horse is gonna be running while that one,
Yeah, your big American stud. That big
which
stud keels over. Rest in peace.
sad moments
I
because
also,
multiple horses don't make it
which
out of this
is
movie alive.
which is true, and I
Yep.
think it highlights how screwed you were because you can't cover that amount of distance.
No. And
I mean, you can, it's just not going to be pretty.
I hated how obnoxiously happy ending the original True Grit movie was.
That's not what Charles Portis
This
wanted.
this is not, you don't get that. And I love older Maddie
Mm.
is a sass.
Oh, I love when who is it? Cole Younger and I forget the other Younger.
Yeah,
Where
Elizabeth
she's like,
Marvel
"Keep your
plays
seat,
her.
trash."
Yeah, keep your seat trash.
I love that.
She's so good. And
I meant to
Josh
look up what Night Hoss was.
Nighthawk. Josh Brolin was so good for his minimal screen time because like he just went from being the lead in a Coen Brothers film, which we're about to talk about, and to this, and like Cheney's only in this for like what 10 minutes,
Mm.
but he makes an impact. He embodies a character really well because it isn't just leaning on the fact that Josh Brolin has just like this deep,
He's
powerful voice.
he's menacing.
He's just like disgusting, like the scruffy
Yeah.
beard, the mark on his face, and he doesn't sound very.
Yeah, he's a little simple, I think, which makes it even funnier that LaBeef is like he's a clever man. No, maybe he's just really good at crime.
Yep. I like to see Barry Pepper pop up in things occasionally, playing Lucky Ned Pepper. Barry Pepper of Saving Private Ryan. He was the sniper
Mm.
in that. I thought he did a really good job here, which like Robert Duvall played Ned Pepper in the original film and like a relatively small
No,
role.
I like that everybody's got disgusting messed up teeth and skin and
The
they're
whole
farting and
the whole sequence with Paul Ray and Donald Gleason,
oh, that
um,
was
Quincy and Moon.
yeah.
That scene was intense.
He's stone cold. Rooster stone cold in that too. He drew that gun fast.
Ed Corbin played the Bear Man.
Love that guy.
Yep.
What a classic Forrester, I think he says his name.
And then, like, it was a Joe Stevens, who is the cross-examining lawyer. He had this very distinct kind of voice to him.
Classic Southern lawyer.
And like the mustache and everything, it really just gets like, it's like, which way were you going?
I don't know about you, but I always go backwards.
I'm gonna back it up. It's just so many of these small characters work so well. And this whole entire film has so much texture and layer, and it's such an engaging Western. And there's very few great Westerns that we get nowadays.
Oh, yeah.
Especially since the turn of the new millennium. Realistically, probably since after Unforgiven, we haven't gotten a ton of truly great Westerns, and especially traditionally period set Westerns.
Not this epic.
Because like we get a lot more neo Westerns today. Thanks, Taylor Sheridan. Which Taylor Sheridan has basically completely engulfed Westerns and neo Westerns in
for other people still. Don't be intimidated, aspiring Western directors.
But like, well, both Ari Aster's next film is a neo Western that might potentially have zombies in it.
Weird West.
Set during COVID.
Okay.
Which
sure.
Ari Aster's crazy. And Robert Eggers said that he would want to make a Western. You know, all those period details are going to be absolutely
the
perfect.
weirdest West.
And you know, like S. Craig Zahler with a Bone Tomahawk car Western. But like there's very few really great traditional Westerns that we've gotten. You know, like you have Open Range and this and 310 to Yuma from James Mangold. I would definitely trust James Mangold to make a old school Hollywood type Western.
Who did Slow West?
That's a good question.
I like that one.
But Jess, what else? Do you have anything that you want to add about True Grit?
Those are my thoughts.
Okay. Well then, after I finished, John McLean directed Slow West.
Okay, buddy.
Who helped co-write High Fidelity, which is interesting. This is his only feature-length film he directed.
I like Slow West too.
Interesting. But moving on, our other film is No Country for Old Men, which
another great American novel.
Cormac McCarthy, you very, very nihilistic man.
He died recently, didn't he?
Did he?
I think he did.
Yep, 2023.
I knew
he passed away. He was 89 years old.
That's a good run for a man who...
He was a month away from turning 90.
Aww.
From Providence, Rhode Island.
Love that.
But Cormac McCarthy obviously is known for making some very stark, nihilistic, like New Age American Gothic kinds of novels. And No Country for Old Men is thematically very bleak, very intense. And this is such an accurate adaptation, which from what I understand, Joel and Ethan were just literally sitting there reading the book and then typing out the dialogue from it because it's like,
I mean, why fix it if it ain't broke?
Well, that's the thing too. It's like, which every chapter in the book, which I love the book, starts with one of those monologues from Sheriff Tom Bell and Ed Tom Bell. And I love the fact that they at least included one of them, which that opening one is so damn good. And I was listening to an interview from the Coens recently, and they're so real. They're like such a genuinely just like, yeah, we're people. Because like they're talking about how they very obviously recycled the fact that like the PI in Blood Simple and then also Sal Polito's character in Big Lebowski both drive like little Beetles.
Yeah.
And they admit like, yeah, you know, sometimes we get lazy too and just recycle ideas. But like the opening of Blood Simple that has that voiceover from and Emmett Walsh.
Mm-hmm.
They do the same exact thing in like with Fargo, and then do this, and just I want to go back to when I had one of my interviews with you asking me questions and who would be the narrator of all audiobooks. I want Tommy Lee Jones
Oh,
to be one of them because God, I was reading the book and just heard all those
it was
monologues in
perfect.
his voice, and
Mm-hmm.
the way he tells that story at the beginning over with the introduction to Anton Chigurh is just so unnerving.
Mm-hmm.
Like listening to Tommy Lee Jones explaining this very stark expectation of society, and then we're seeing this very stark look at West Texas. and
There's nothing out there.
and that moment, which how do you make an impact at the start of the film when you have Chigurh being arrested and then him sneaking up behind that police officer and strangling
Extended
him,
strangling.
the blood
Ew,
flirting out from
yes.
his neck, and
Nasty.
that unnerving like release
Bonk.
at the end where Chigurh's like letting off of tension, but also he's totally getting off on
Bonk.
that violence.
Straight
But
to horny Joe.
this film is so oh, it's one of my favorites. But Jess, what stands out to you about No Country for Old Men that you love?
Hmm. Great question, Shane. I love Sheriff Bell's uncle's house
With all the cats.
with the old guy sassiness.
There's
Where he's like, "How'd you know
you're
it
an
was me?"
outlaw.
Oh yeah, where he's like, some of them are half feral. Some of them are just outlaws that wandered in one day. Also love the how'd you know it was me? Heard you coming up. Figured it was you when you walked through the door. 10 out of 10.
Which Barry Corbin, who plays Ellis,
Yeah.
just just like, and like we said, talking about True
Those are the
Grit,
only moments of humor though, really. The rest of the movie is very like somber.
that there is a shocking amount of humor in this movie, and this movie is hilarious if you can get past the fact that a lot of this movie makes you feel really uncomfortable and
Yeah,
intense.
there's a lot of death and it's not glorified. There's no like fun shootouts or whatever. It's just like
It's violence. This is it. That's the big difference between action and violence.
mhm.
This is a this is a violent thriller. Like that cat and mouse chase between Chigurh and Llewellyn
Yeah.
is
People
so
die and they die in brutal ways.
this is why this is one of my favorite scenes ever in film, is just the whole thing where he finds the transponder. It's
Mhm.
like, okay, now I don't have to worry about this now. But then the lights get turned off
Mm.
out in the hallway, and you hear the creaking and the editing, which also Roderick James, the greatest editor in the history of
Who
film,
never existed.
who never existed because it's just the Coen Brothers. Uh, but that when it cuts to that shot of just the keyhole, we know
Yeah.
what's gonna happen. You're
Mhm.
just like, oh no, and that comes out like a bullet and hits Llewellyn in the side, and then him running out the window and
Yeah, the whiz of the bullets.
the whiz of the compressed air shots, which also the sound design in
Oh
this
yeah.
movie is ridiculous. Quick
That's
quick
right. He
thing.
doesn't shoot him till he gets in the truck, right? He's
Well,
shooting him.
Chigurh doesn't have bullets that whole entire sequence.
Oh.
He has that compressed air gun,
Yeah.
but Llewellyn has bullets
Yeah.
and does shoot Chigurh with a shotgun. He gets
Mm. That's
some of
right.
them
Yeah.
lodged in his
And he's
leg.
gotta pick him out.
So this one Best Picture, this one Best Supporting Actor for Javier Bardem, which also like my God,
Yeah.
he is like legitimately one of the greatest villains in the history of cinema,
Don't let his haircut fool you.
and that was his idea.
The horrible
Like
haircut.
Javier Bardem, that was his idea for the hair.
Good for him.
And he did the same thing with Skyfall. That blonde hair
Oh.
was his idea. Like
All
it's
right.
so fascinating how he just embodies, because like he is, there's nothing behind his eyes.
No.
He is a soulless
Just resolve.
force. It's like, call it. And just he's also hilarious. Like that, one of the best scenes in any Coen Brothers movie is him at that gas station. And the guy's like, when do you close? Now? Now is not a time. And it's just like around dark. And like he's looking up and it's so bright outside. It's so funny. And then the whole the unraveling of a crunched up candy bar wrapper has never been more tense in a movie than that. The like Deacon's holding on to that shot of it slowly unraveling. I'm like, oh my god, is he gonna shoot him? Is he gonna shoot him? And then he calls it right, and he's like, don't put that in your pocket. It's your lucky coin. You put it in your pocket, it just becomes another coin. And the look Javier Bardem gives is hilarious, and it's so sassy, and it's just like this is so unexpected. Which that's why this film is so unexpectedly funny too. But Bardem won, the Coens won for directing, which this was a big deal because if I'm not mistaken, this was the first film they let them actually both be listed as director for. Because up to that point they rotated like I think Joel was director and Ethan was producer on most of their films up to this point because rules and shit of the Directors Guild wouldn't let them put both names
Whatever.
on
If
it.
they can share, it's fine.
It's like they're brothers, they're doing this together.
From the womb to the tomb.
Adapted screenplay, because yes, this is an incredible screenplay. And this, of course, Deakins did win Best Cinematography. If I'm not mistaken,
Right.
Robert Elswit did for There Will Be Blood, which, like,
Okay.
if you're gonna lose, like, this is one of the most mammoth, like, like this is like one of those truly great matchups of Best Picture between There Will Be Blood and No Country for Old Men, which they were shot in Texas at the same exact time and interfered with each other's shoots because that whole the whole entire pillar of flames that happened in There Will Be Blood shut down shooting for No Country for Old Men because of the smoke. This film editing, Roderick James did not win, which I do think it's funny that on IMDb they do officially put Ethan Joel Coen instead of Roderick James. Can you nominate somebody who doesn't exist? And then this did get nominated for sound mixing and sound editing, which it deserved because the sound of that compressed air gun is so frightening. And just all of this from a technical standpoint.
There's some gurgles too, if I recall.
Oh my god!
There's a bunch of squelching, as the subtitles put it.
Stephen Root, man who hires Wells, as credited in the credits.
Yep.
Hit when he's dying because he got shot in the throat. Ugh, disgusting.
Gross.
Unnerving. But like this film narratively is so unexpected because like in what world do you write a film where your main character gets killed off camera?
This world.
And then you have to realize who the real protagonist of the story is, who really at the end of the day it's Sheriff Bell, who's the one who has to navigate this horrible situation. And it's like it's so funny because him and the other sheriff just sitting there like, him with the green hair, and it's just like it's such a like an old
guy complaint
about like a different generation, but like this takes place in the 1980s. It's important too because you have Vietnam vets in this, Llewellyn and Wells, and it's a very distinct time of generational divide because the hippie generation, the ones who fought in Vietnam generation, very much disconnected, and this new violent world that like Sheriff Tom Bell's like, I gotta retire.
Rise of the drug lords and everything, the cartels.
Yep. And especially because this is set in Texas, reshaping what law enforcement was at the time. And Tommy Lee Jones is so damn good. He got nominated for Best Actor this year for In the Valley of Elah. So like he got nominated for Best Actor, but not for this. Which I would make an argument. Well,
he was my favorite.
He lost to arguably the greatest performance in the history of film, which is Daniel Day-Lewis as Daniel Plainview. So like,
there's no shame in that.
No, there's no shame in him not winning an Oscar because DDL. it's a hard comparison, but like I just love Tommy Lee Jones's humor and just
He's very dry.
which also you give a lot of credit to Garrett Delahunt, who plays his
Oh,
a
his
deputy.
deputy, yeah.
He's like, "Oh, sheriff, like we need to put out an APB." It's like, "For
APB for
what?"
what?
Man who recently drank milk. I that gets me every time because it's so hilarious. It's like, Sheriff, they invited us out to the. You want to go out to the shooters? Like, are there new bodies? No. Well, I don't see any reason why. It just Tom Bell's so sassy, and it just like when he wasn't gonna go home right away, he had to go out and go check on some more things. And it's just like, do you want me to reply to her after you leave the office? Like, he leaves her so that she's not lying to his wife. It's just all those little moments, but there's a there's a vulnerability to him,
hmm He's
and
afraid at one point when he goes into you can tell he's afraid.
he's afraid when he goes into Llewellyn's room afterwards later that night because he sees that the keyhole is shot in.
Yeah.
And he knows that Sugar could be there at that very moment, or at least was there,
Mhm.
which he is,
Yep.
which that is so frightening, him standing behind the door and the little detail of the door stopping in an unnatural way because you
Do you
know
think he
Sugar.
do you think he knew and just didn't check? Or do you think he was wrapped up in that and didn't notice? Because he's
That's a
pretty
good
detailed
question because, like, I've
oriented.
watched this movie so many times. I think deep down he
I
realizes
think he did.
somebody's there,
'Cause he
and
didn't check it. He
no,
checked
he
everything
went straight
else.
into the bathroom, and I think he was hoping that Sugar would leave.
And he
Because
does.
that's the thing about Sugar is like he isn't just killing people for the sake of killing
No,
people.
it's a means to an end.
Yes, and there's only a few moments where, like, I think he flipped the coin with that clerk guy at the gas station because he was pissing him off. I like that's one of the few moments where I think it was just personal.
hmm
And the which also amazing minor characters. That woman who runs the trailer park,
Oh, I love that lady.
we don't give out that kinds of information. And that lady
She
is
stands up to him.
yeah, which that's why I think he was going to try to kill her, but then the little detail of somebody flushing the toilet in the next
Mm,
room, he leaves. And this film is one of the most detail-oriented films I think I've ever watched because that whole scene with Kelly McDonald at the end, who I love Kelly McDonald, and she's so good in this, where she just stands up to him.
it's only women seem to really stand
Yes.
up to him.
Yeah, all the men are either
They try to fight him
are
or they run.
or it's like they're afraid and avoid him, like Sheriff Tom Bell. Wells, who's afraid and tries to negotiate with. Llewellyn, who's too cocksure and thinks that he can take down Sugar. And then, yeah, it's the women that are like strong in his presence, and he
Mhm.
does not know how to process Kelly McDonald standing up to him. He's like,
No.
it's like, nobody has ever told me no. When I told him,
Yeah. And
call it.
she's like, "You're gonna kill me anyway. I'm not playing this game." And he's like,
And that's so heartbreaking when he leaves the front door and
mm-hmm.
checks his boots
Mm-hmm.
because you know he killed her because that's foreshadowed earlier in the film where he that scene with him and Woody Harrelson.
Mm-hmm. Oh, in the book, it's great too. I mean, you can't
Yeah.
go into it, but just the way he describes his brains leaking down the wall, you would never think it'd be beautiful.
Well,
I mean, it's not great.
that's the thing because
Beautifully
Cormac
described.
McCarthy was a beautiful writer,
Yep.
and some of the things that he wrote were so haunting.
Yep. Like this. He says something about how all his memories and stuff are splattered on the wall. It's just like, wow.
That shot though, because you never
Yeah.
see it.
No.
The choice to have Carson Wells out of frame the whole time, and that tension of the phone ringing, and just a,
Yep.
and you're just like, and then he casually picks up the phone.
You know. Oh yeah, and it's Llewellyn saying I want to negotiate. It's too late, bro.
Yep. And it's just there's so many great moments like that with the little details and the shot of the blood creeping up on his boots and him lifting up his boots.
Oh yep.
That whole sequence where Sugar goes into Llewellyn's room and finds the cartel guys and
Mm.
ugh, that when he hits that guy in
In
the
the arm,
arm
yeah.
and it's flailing, and you're just like, it just, this is a violent, like, because one of the first films that Taylor Sheridan wrote that really took off was Sicario,
Mhm.
that Denis Villeneuve directed. There's no Sicario without No Country for Old Men, because and also both shot by Russians. But like, there's so many things like that where it's just like it's violence. This is not an action thriller. It is a thriller with violence.
Mhm.
And violence is important thematically to this whole entire story. The cast is incredible from top to bottom. The little character actors like Stephen Root is like, and Woody Harrelson's like,
Okay.
I counted and noticed you're missing a floor. And he's like, "We'll look into it." And like that's the thing. This movie is hilarious. Like it's so dark, and the Coens are the kings of making really, really dark films that still are funny. Like Fargo is like the perfect
Yeah,
example
it's
of
very
that.
funny.
It's hilarious, but it's so dark. And this film, like thematically, all leading up to like the final scene, which I was so pissed off um and confused when I watched this for the first time when I was in college. Um when he's just like, and then I woke up and it holds and it holds and then it cuts to black. You're like,
Yep.
what? But it fits, it's important, and it's significant. And oh, it makes me happy that the Coens finally won a Best Picture award and directing for this because they got hosed in 96 to The English Patient.
Boo.
Because Fargo is an infinitely better film than that. But I look forward to maybe someday when they get back together and direct a film again together. It's very interesting because you can tell where their personalities come together after watching each of their efforts after working together, because you can tell Ethan's much more of the fun one and Joel's definitely a lot more of like the
Serious.
serious, because Tragedy of Macbeth and then Drive Away Dolls, I think, says a lot when
Yeah.
you're looking at them. But
Stark contrast.
I guess, Jess, do you have anything else you want to add about No Country for Old Men?
No.
Well, obviously you can tell we love the Coen brothers. And I hope you enjoyed this. And if you haven't watched either of these films, you're in for a treat.
Oh
For
yeah.
sure.
What are
But
you doing? Stop listening to us talk about it. Just watch the movies.
yes. And a happy birthday to my wife, Jess. Thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome. You softballed me that one. Thank you.
There you go. I thank all of you for listening. Make sure to like, comment, and share on this episode. What's your favorite Coen Brothers film? Do you have any in particular that you think are underappreciated? I do. It's Intolerable Cruelty because I love that movie to
It's
death.
silly.
It's so good. But also make sure to follow or subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast. The SPM Crew Podcasting Network has a lot of great content, whether it's about film, television, music, sports, physical media, or comics, and just talking about life with Luke. And we're always looking for new shows and looking forward to new creators coming aboard. So make sure to follow or subscribe. And if you like our logo, make sure to check out HiFlyer Creative. They do some great work. And most importantly, thank you as always for tuning in and supporting the Wasteland Retrospective here on the SPM Crew Podcasting Network.